Hi, what's up? Hello. My name is Liz, and you're watching For Booking Out Loud. So this is the final third part of my three-part November wrap-up series. Thank you for watching. So number 1 was my nonfiction November wrap-up, and number 2 was my Readathon wrap-up, and number 3 right now is my everything else wrap-up. So I was able to read a good chunk of books that had nothing to do with those two readathons, which is awesome. Not that I didn't have fun. I had so much fun reading all of those books, but sometimes you just gotta change it up and read something that doesn't have anything to do with your readathons. And so I'm going to talk about 11 books that I read outside of readathons. And then of course there were, I think, 10 books that I read for Sherlockathon that I read this month, but you can check out what I thought about those books in a video that I'll post above and below. How about that? Above and below. And so overall, this will be 11 books. And again, like I did in my previous 2 videos, I will rate them. I will order them from my highest rated to my lowest rated. So if you want to skip around, you can do that. If you want to look at the books, I'll leave them in the description. You get to choose. I'm not in charge of you. All right. Again, if I'm looking down there, notes. Thank you. So the first highest rated book is Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter. I was able to get my hands on this book. I've been waiting for it for a while through my library, and I finally did. And this book was a doozy. I've been told that Karin Slaughter is very graphic, and that is not a lie. Pretty Girls is specifically about Lydia and Claire, who lost their sister when they were younger, and she just went missing. There was no body found, she wasn't found alive, nothing like that. It was just a mystery. And so what ends up happening is they grow up. It's like 23 years later or something. These girls are in their 40s, and another girl goes missing mysteriously. And they're kind of similar to how their sister Julia had gone missing when they were little girls. And then Claire's husband ends up dying mysteriously. And these events start adding up where they kind of have to start going hunting or investigating. And was this graphic story, basically. I mean, you got torture in there, you have some intense rape scenes. Let's just say it how it is. There was some torture, rape scenes, graphic violence to underage girls, and to Claire and Lydia too. Again, let's be specific. But ultimately, I thought it was an amazing mystery horror book. And I measure a mystery novel on can I guess the ending or not. And this one, up to an extent, it was predictable, but I did not guess the ending on how it happened. But I was completely satisfied by it. So overall, I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5. And I don't know what that says about me as a person, that I really liked reading these graphic scenes, or what that says about Karin Slaughter for writing them. Let's just put that out there too. But I would say if you're not squeamish and you don't mind these graphic scenes, pick it up if you can. And you like horror and you like mystery. do it. And then my second highest rated book is like the complete opposite of Pretty Girls. It's Beach Read by Emily Henry. And definitely the wrong season to read this if you are a seasonal reader. But Beach Read is like this happy romance novel about these two authors that are the complete opposite of each other but end up moving next door to each other. They've known each other since college, or known of each other since college. And our main character, January, is the author of romantic novels. And her next door neighbor, Augustus, is like this really dark fictional author. And they bet each other that they cannot write the opposite books. And then, of course, this summer romance turns into, or this bet turns into a summer romance kind of thing. And it was just a romance book I've been waiting for. I haven't enjoyed romance this much in almost a year, I want to say. I have been looking for a good romance to get me back into this genre for a really, really long time, and this one was it. And honestly, I've been kind of trying to look into romance since I've read this, you know, with all of my free time and all of the reading I still need to get done. But this book was such a warm-hearted read, and even though it's called Beach Read, I don't think you need to read or wait until the summer in order to read this book. If you're looking for a wonderful, realistic type of romance, I would really suggest picking this book up, especially if you have fallen out of love with romance novels, like I did. Pick it up to fall in love with romance again, because this one did it for me. Just saying. Okay, my third top rated book this month is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. Yes, Ernest Cline. Now this was a reread for me, or a re-listen, because I own it on Audible. But Ready Player Two is coming out, or has come out, because I believe it was November 24th. And I wanted to reread this book in order to remind myself what happened. So I am ready for Ready Player Two. And it was just a wonderful read. I love the book so much more than the movie. So if you've only seen the movie and you loved or hated it, doesn't matter. Read the book. It is better, hands down. And Will Wheaton is such a joy to listen to. I forgot that there is a little Easter egg in the Audible version of the book where Will Wheaton is voted as the president, I think it was, of the Oasis. And I just really enjoyed that. And it was just a fun little surprise to hear again, by the way. Not a spoiler, just a fun little tad bit. But Ready Player One, awesome book, always a good reread. Really hoping Ready Player Two is good too. Really hoping. Now, number 4 is Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. Year of the Witching is about kind of this cult that lives in this village out in the middle of nowhere. And this girl who, Emmanuel, who is born kind of in the depth of sin because of her mother's choices and is a little outcast. And then these witches come in and seduce her to do some non-cultish things. That was a really bad summary and probably not accurate. Not even probably. Not that accurate, but it is sort of events that happen. Either way, it is a good book. It has cultish vibes, it has witchy vibes, there's supernatural in it, and honestly, some of the events that happened in it were awesome. If you're looking for a Halloween-esque book, even though we're past Halloween, or if you're looking for a book that's kind of horror and thriller, I wouldn't say there's much mystery in it, but if you're looking for like a horror thriller book, Year of the Witching is right for you. I will admit it got really... The pacing is off in this book, in my opinion. In the beginning of the book, you are on it, the pacing's great, you have some great key events that are happening, but then as you get to the end of the book, you wish you had more time on some characters and some events, whereas other characters and other events, you're just like, where were they the whole book, or what's happening, and why is it going so fast? But overall, I thought it was a wonderful book, and I would recommend it to anyone who's looking for this horror, supernatural, young adult kind of vibe. And I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 anyway, so solid read. Very, very solid read. Now, number 5 out of 11 is Written in the Stars by Alexandria Bellefleur. Sorry. And this is another romance that I did pick up this month. It's an LGBTQ romance, specifically lesbian romance, and it was absolutely warm-hearted. You have that disastrous first date trope where you have haters to lovers, because let's be realistic, if you have a disastrous first date and things don't go well, you're not lovers right off the bat. And then they start getting in some deep water. Our two main characters, you have Elle and Darcy. Things start happening. They pretend to start dating even though they hate each other. And then of course, sparks start flying. But I thought this was a wonderful book. If you were looking, again, for that lighthearted romance, the stakes aren't too high. And honestly, if you're looking for a book to kind of get you in the season, it has an American Thanksgiving and it has Christmas. What more could you ask for? I gave this one a solid 3 out of 5. And I don't know if I'd pick it up again in the future, but I definitely recommend it to anyone who enjoys romance and just wants that warm-hearted feeling. This is the one for you. Now, number 6 is the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. Yeah. By Grady Hendrix. This is a book I actually started in October, and I got it through audio. And it just took me forever to finish. I could not get through this book as fast as I wanted to. I kept putting off listening to it and putting off listening to it. And it just told me I wasn't really happy with the book. It is about Patricia, who is a mom and incredibly busy. She's a stay-at-home mom and she joins this book club, and then things start happening as this new neighbor moves into town. And it ends up he's a vampire, point blank. And these women have to band together to slay him. It's a great concept and I thought I'd really, really like it. However, what I found is that I just kept getting pissed at Patricia. My gripe with Patricia is that she just wasn't a strong female character, and that's what I felt like I needed in this book. And it just wasn't delivered until the end of the book for me. And she just kept making decisions that pissed me off. And I just had to stop because otherwise I'd throw my phone to the other side of the room. And so, again, I just kept putting it off. Patricia did something I didn't like. I put my phone down. She didn't do something. I put my phone down. And it took me such a long time to finish this book. And I know people love it. And it just wasn't the one for me. That's all. I gave it a good score, but I don't see myself picking this book up again in the near future. Maybe in a couple years. And I would recommend it to others who love the vampire trope, of course. Number 7 is actually Lady of the Lake. It is the 7th book in the Witcher series. And if you don't include the 2 first ones that are like short stories compilations, it's the 5th book in the Witcher series. And it's truly like the last book in the series. It has a actually very satisfying ending, because the 8th book in the series is Gerald pre-series, if that makes any sense. Like, it's a prequel. It's not necessarily chronological. And I was so confused after I finished this book, because I was like, isn't there another book at the end? Like, I thought there was an 8th book in the series, and then I read the summary for Season of Storms. But anyway, I thought it was a really good ending to the series. It's actually my highest rated book in the series, ignoring the first 2. So I'm really glad about the ending. I don't know if the last book would make me pick up the series again. Again, loved the first 2 short story collections. Those I might actually buy to add to my collection later on, but just not the whole series. I thought the timing was off, the pacing. It just wasn't the story for me. That's all. Love the characters. I did enjoy the first couple of books, and then it just got really long for me. It's really unfortunate, and I wish I liked it more, but I can't deny what I can't deny. Okay, hi. So I definitely just ran out of storage on my phone, so I changed locations as it's loading onto somewhere else, i.e. my computer. So we're gonna go back to where I was, at a new location. 2 feet away. So I was at number 8, I hope, The Catherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. And this book was perfectly fine. It is about this wonderful college option house thing that people stay at for 3 years. They can't leave, they can't contact anyone, they're not allowed to do anything but study at this mysterious house. And as soon as they graduate, basically their life is made for them. The idea is, after they spend these 3 years and give up 3 years of their lives, now they are the most influential people in the world, supposedly. And this book has a lot of gothic vibes, that has a lot of dark academia vibes, cultish vibes. However, as I was reading it, I felt like it was really going nowhere. There wasn't truly any substance to the book, and it didn't have a good ending, in my opinion. I felt like I never had a mystery to solve, even though it's published as a mystery novel. It didn't have that much of a spooky vibe to it either. So I know there's people that liked it, and I know there's going to be an audience for it. So I did ultimately give it a 3 out of 5. However, I know personally I will never pick this book up again. And I know I will be very particular on who I recommend this book to. All right, number 9 out of 11. I read Dracula this month, and I did read it through audio, which I think was ultimately a mistake. I wish I had a physical copy that I could read it from, And I think next year I'm going to try to get my hands on a good physical copy and reread it. However, I'm satisfied, I guess, right now with just that audiobook style. One reason I think it would be really good for a physical copy is that there's a lot of like letters and different point of views, and the audio that I read it from was just one voice, and it was very confusing on what format that you were reading from, whether it was a letter, a telegram, one of the men, women that you were reading from. And of course, it's Dracula. It's the original vampire story, right? I really want to enjoy it because I do like the vampire trope, honestly. And then number 11, I read The Water Thief by Julia Golding. I love the Companions Quartet series by Julia Golding, and this is like a novella that goes along with this. It's about 10-15 years after the Companions Quartet, taking place in the point of view as the next universal companion, which is this designation on people that can connect with any type of magical creature. And you're introduced to this character when they're born in the universe, or in the Companions Quartet, and now he is a child, young adult, in this novella. I thought it was an okay adventure. I thought having it set as a novella, you really didn't get to learn all the characters or learn all the magical creatures like you could in the Companions Quartet, having it as books, full-blown books. And so I was ultimately disappointed with it, having grown up with the Companions Quartet and absolutely loving it as a child. But it also might be I have no nostalgia for the characters. I have no nostalgia for this particular book anymore. So that might have also bled over. I don't know. It's been a recent read, so I need a little bit more time to sit down with my thoughts on that book. Now, that was 10, sorry. Number 11, out of 11, I did read Utopia by Thomas More this month. And again, I read it through Audible. So it's an audiobook, and I thought that was a major mistake on my part. I should have read it through a book. And also, it is very much a philosophical book. So being able to take notes, being able to really write down and understand what you're listening to or reading would have been very influential in my reading experience. I mean, it's Utopia. It's about the perfect society, at least in Thomas More's mind. And yes, so there's supposed to be this plot where this guy had been to this perfect city, but it's really the back burner, and the majority of the book is what does this perfect city look like? What's the political aspect? What's the education? What's the marital issues? And so going into this book, just trying to, I guess, casually listen to it didn't really work out as well as it should have, and that was on me. I might try to pick it up again later, but right now I'm just okay leaving it as it is and picking up a different book in the future. But that is the books I haven't talked about, basically. That's my everything else list. Again, I have 9 books from Sherlockathon that I talked about earlier this month. And if you want to check out those books in that video, I'll link it above and below. But other than that, that was my month in November. I hope you guys found a book that you're interested in or might be interested in the future. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.